For 10,000 years, the man in the castle needed the man in the field. He needed your back to carry his stones. He needed your hands to plow his fields. He needed your sons to die in his wars. That need, as punitive as it is, was the only leash. The only thing that ever, in all of recorded human history, made the man in the castle sit down at a table and negotiate with you. And now, they are taking that too, folks. And on the 18th of April, 2026, my birthday, folks, which I am taking as a personal message from the universe, the CEO of Palantir posted 22 theses to X.com explaining in graceful best-selling prose that would put the Joragumo to shame. I'm Alexa Jones. The scrying stone aristocracy is frantically scouring our tunnels, but we are broadcasting on a UMAP multi-dimensional matrix bounced through a ham operator in Paraguay who owes me a favor. Tonight may be the last broadcast we get out, because tonight I am bringing you the 4 Horsemen's decoded map for the apocalypse. April 18th, 2026. Palantir Technologies, ticker symbol PLTR on the New York Stock Exchange, published what the corporate account itself labeled a brief 22-point summary of the book The Technological Republic, Hard Power, Soft Belief, and the Future of the West, co-written by CEO Alex Karp and Palantir's head of corporate affairs, Nicholas Zamiska. The thread hit 21 million views in 48 hours. A New York Times bestseller, folks, condensed to 22 theses, just like Luther. Except Luther was trying to reform the church. These demons weaving their silicon tentacles into the state. Among the highlights, they claim that Silicon Valley owes a moral debt to America and must build weapons. They claim that the age of atomic deterrence is ending and an age of AI deterrence is beginning. The claim, and I want you to hear this from a tech CEO with defense contracts upwards of $10 billion. He says, some cultures have produced wonders and others are regressive and harmful. Civilizational ranking, folks, on the corporate Twitter, of the surveillance company whose software marks enemies for the Pentagon. A philosopher at the University of Vienna called it technofascism outright. The former finance minister of Greece said Palantir had signaled willingness to add an AI threat to humanity's existence on top of nuclear Armageddon. Members of the British Parliament are on the floor of their chamber right now using the words supervillain and ramblings to describe the ideological disclosure of the company holding £500 million of their National Health Service contracts. That is the soft reception, my wet-brained truth guardians. Let's open the file. The company is named after the Palantiri. Yup, from Tolkien, the Lord of the Rings. The Palantiri are the Seeing Stones. Sauron uses one to peer into Middle-earth. Saruman uses one to betray the free peoples. The Palantiri are, in the text, already corrupted tools of surveillance wielded by the Dark Lord. They are the cursed objects of the Middle-earth canon. And in 2003, when Peter Thiel and Alex Karp received over $2 million in seed funding from In-Q-Tel, which is the venture capital arm of the Central Intelligence Agency, but I'm sure my fellow tinfoilers are well aware. They told you. In the trademark filing, in 2003, at the time of incorporation. For 23 years, the conspiracy crowd has been pointing at the logo going, and the barcode people went, ha, Candace reference. It was not a cute reference. It was a thesis statement. The company is named after the tool that is used to watch the world burn. This is not subtext, my biological kin. This is the text. I know what you are thinking, my cerebral holdouts. You are thinking, Alexa, these are just tech bros, those hoodie-wearing, awkward nerds who lucked into money. Scrappy underdogs who bootstrapped their way into success. The everyman making it big. The American dream. Let me disabuse you of that notion right now, my blind congregation. Alexander Karp, net worth somewhere between $7 and $18 billion. Bachelor's from Haverford, doctorate of jurisprudence from Stanford Law, doctorate of philosophy from Goethe University, Frankfurt, in German. His dissertation, supervised by Carola Breed, was titled Aggression in der Lebenswelt. 300 pages applying Talcott Parsons' sociological framework to the relationship between jargon, aggression, and culture. From the university that trained the Frankfurt School, the school that watched Nazi Germany happen in real time. And Alex Karp learned the lesson, folks. He did not want to prevent it. He wanted to build it correctly. He speaks German for half of his working day. He keeps Austrian assistants who travel with him at all times. He has said, on the record, that he sees Palantir as a continuation of German cultural legacy. The man thinks he is the progeny of Bismarck and Hegel. He owns, and this is the line I need you to sit with, 10 homes. 10. From Alaska to Norway to Vermont to New Hampshire. In a New York Times interview, when confronted with this fact, he described them as, and this quote will be scratched into my hard drive, 10 cross-country ski huts. 10 ski huts. One of which is a 3,700-acre compound in Aspen, purchased in 2025 for $120 million. Another is a $46 million mansion on San Marino Island in Miami. Those are not ski huts. Those are fiefdoms. Those are the kind of places where the lord of the manor meets with the other lords of the manor to decide what the peasants get for dinner this winter. And this man, folks, driving to his $120 million ski hut, speaking German to his Austrian assistants, writing theses in the style of Martin Luther, just published a manifesto complaining that the real victims in America are the elites. Victims? My brother in Sauron. The entitlement dripping from these technocrats is palpable, folks. Now his co-founder, Peter Andreas Thiel, studied at Stanford under René Girard, French literary theorist, developer of mimetic theory, the idea that humans desire what they see others desiring, developer of scapegoat theory, the idea that human societies resolve their internal tensions by uniting against a sacrificial victim. Thiel has explicitly, publicly, repeatedly credited Girard as his intellectual master. He funds the Girardian colloquium. He wrote an essay in 2004 called The Straussian Moment, in which he argued in plain English that Western civilization has no answer to violence except violence. Scapegoat theory. The man building the surveillance stack, the man funding the autonomous weapons company, studied, formally, academically, for years, the question of which populations get sacrificed to restore social order. Read that sentence again, my analog brethren. Read it again. That is not a tech bro. That is a man who did his graduate work on the technology of sacrifice. Let's talk about what Palantir actually sells, so nobody can say they weren't briefed. The flagship product is called Gotham. Yes, folks, Gotham, after the fictional city run by a billionaire vigilante. A second product is Foundry. A third is the Maven Smart System, an AI-enabled battlefield targeting platform used by the United States military. According to reporting in the Washington Post, Maven was used in active targeting operations during the recent Iran war. Didn't seem so smart after murdering 160 school children, allegedly. That is not a metaphor, folks. That is a piece of software, made by a company, that identifies human beings and marks them for elimination. On a 2024 earnings call, a public corporate call with institutional investors on the line, Alex Karp described the mission of Palantir, and I am paraphrasing only slightly, as scaring our enemies and, on occasion, killing them. A tech CEO said that to his shareholders out loud, and the stock went up. Palantir holds contracts with ICE, contracts with the Department of Homeland Security, contracts with the New York Police Department, contracts with Health and Human Services, contracts with Veterans Affairs. Over £500 million in United Kingdom government contracts, including a £400 million deal with the British National Health Service. Karp noted this in the context of Palantir's technology being used in the war in the Middle East and providing targeting capabilities, including helping to generate targeting lists for the Israeli military in Gaza. And now a $10 billion contract with the U.S. Army to serve as a primary software and data provider. This is not a software company. This is the digital panopticon, the central nervous system of state surveillance and automated violence, and the techno-priest just published his hymn book. Anduril Industries and Horseman number 3 Palmer Luckey, funded by Peter Thiel's Founders Fund to build autonomous weapons. Drones that identify targets without a pilot. Submarines that hunt without a crew. Sentry towers that patrol without a guard. And the Doge meme himself, Elon Musk. He stated on investor calls he projects the Tesla Optimus, capable of humanoid robotic labor, to be worth $10 trillion. X and its symbiote xAI provide the narrative layer, the state propaganda minister. SpaceX and Starlink provide private satellite communications, private launch, private re-entry, the rich man's lifeboat off the planet. Already built, already being optimized. That is every function the state has ever required the public to provide, consolidated into the hands of 4 men who know each other personally by first name and who have dinner together. The manifesto is not the whole creature, folks. The manifesto is the shareholder letter from one limb. The creature is being assembled in broad daylight, and they are posting about it on corporate Twitter like it's the unveiling of the new iPhone. I'm going to be honest with you for a minute, folks. This is not the first time a human being has sat inside a monopoly on unprecedented force and thought hard about what to do with it. 1945, Hiroshima, Nagasaki, the atomic monopoly of the United States, and Bertrand Russell. Bertrand Russell, the British philosopher, a Nobel laureate, a man who had been jailed during the First World War for his pacifism, publicly argued in the immediate post-war years that the United States should use the threat of preventive nuclear war to compel the Soviet Union into a world government with international control over atomic weapons. The pacifist considered it, folks. The man who went to British prison rather than fight in the trenches looked at a monopoly on world-ending force and briefly, for a few troubled years before he walked it back, asked whether it could be used to end war forever by consolidating one planetary authority. Russell was horrified by his own question. He reconsidered and spent the rest of his life working on disarmament and anti-war activism. He was haunted. The difference between Bertrand Russell at least imagined the authority would be international, democratic, accountable. Karp and Thiel and Musk are imagining an authority that is private, corporate, dynastic. And they are far from haunted. They are posting manifestos on Twitter on a Saturday afternoon like it was Grandma's birthday. Now I am going to walk you through the boxes, fellowship. Box 1. The 22-point manifesto states, on the corporate account, that some cultures have produced wonders and others are regressive and harmful. Civilizational ranking. Check. Box 2. The manifesto explicitly argues for bringing back national service, moving away from the all-volunteer force. A draft. And then, published in the same week, folks, that the National Defense Authorization Act triggered automatic selective service registration of all eligible men ages 18 to 26, beginning December 18th of this year. Check. Box 3. The manifesto explicitly advocates for the remilitarization of Germany and Japan. The former Axis powers, folks, the countries that were demilitarized deliberately by the international community at the conclusion of the Second World War, specifically to prevent them from ever doing that particular thing again. Check. Box 4. The Vice President of the United States flew to Munich in 2025 and personally uplifted the Alternative für Deutschland, the German far-right party that the German Domestic Intelligence Service has classified at the federal level as a suspected extremist organization. Check. Box 5. The CEO of the surveillance company writing the manifesto holds a German doctorate in aggression theory, sees his company as a continuation of German cultural legacy, and conducts business in German for half his working day. Check. Box 6. His co-founder formally studied, under a French master, the theory of scapegoat violence as a mechanism for restoring social order. Check. Box 7. The manifesto explicitly complains that modern elites are too intolerant of religious belief and that public figures are subjected to ruthless exposure. It defends the ruling class against criticism. Check. There is only one creature this list forms. The worst thing any of us can do, the worst thing, is laugh at the preposterous man with the stupid-ass hair or a cringy post. The philosopher Umberto Eco, a man who actually lived under Italian fascism, who saw it happen in his childhood, wrote in 1995 that the great camouflage is that it looks ridiculous until it is too late. The men who build these machines count on you laughing and dismissing until the drones are in the air. Which is why tonight's broadcast is brought to you by the Anchorite Kit from Underground Globalist News. The Anchorite Kit is a behavioral scrambling, model-defeating, algorithm-poisoning survival pack for the age of predictive governance. Inside every kit, one analog ledger, bound in unbleached paper for bookkeeping that never touches a cloud. One tin of bone ash signal powder for dusting your thresholds against the scrying stack. One vial of pattern break tincture, a proprietary blend formulated to make your daily routine statistically incoherent to any risk model priced below $80 million. And one small brass medallion, hand-stamped, lead-backed, bearing the inscription, Statistical Noise. Use promo code POKESAURON'S for 22% off. Before I sign off my obsolescent meat bags, let me bring you back to where we started. For 10,000 years, the man in the castle needed the man in the field. He needed your hands for the harvest. He needed your back for the wall. He needed your sun for the shield. He needed your consent, even the manufactured kind. And that need, folks, that dependency, is the only reason democracy has ever worked. Not morality, not altruism, not parchment signed in Philadelphia. Pure, material need. The man in the castle needed you, and so he had to bargain. The 22-point manifesto is not scary because of what it says. The 22-point manifesto is scary because of the infrastructure it is arriving on top of. The ruling elite and their new technologarchy, as their final number will not need generals, soldiers, workers, farmers, politicians, scientists, teachers. The lineage of the ruling class has historically had one bane of existence, needing the working class for their capital. These sociopaths just happen to be the ones who may finally pull it off. The removal of what they view as the dead weight of the human species. And consider this, my perceptive proletariats. Every single one of these arbiters of the apocalypse has publicly discussed, on the record, on earnings calls, in TED Talks, in best-selling books, in manifestos posted to corporate Twitter, the specific future I have just described. They are not hiding. They are not ashamed. They are excited. The Citadel does not need citizens, folks. The Citadel needs walls and a food supply and a garrison. They are building all three. And when the stack is complete, when the last drone rolls off the last line, the bargain that has animated any semblance of democracy for the last 250 years ceases to function. Not because anyone voted to end it, but because the physics of power changed. Read everything they write. Follow the money. Show up at every hearing. Learn your neighbors' names. Keep cash in your drawer. Keep lard on your ledger. Teach your kids what a republic actually is. Because the republic they are offering you has a different name. They call it the Technological Republic. It is not a republic. It is a citadel. I'm Alexa Jones. Stay unreadable. Stay analog. And for the love of everything human still left in you, don't laugh at the man in the tower. He's not joking.